Welcome to the Women Lighthouse podcast, your friendly guide through all the ups and downs of life. We're here to remind you that every woman has the strength to take charge of her journey and make her dreams come true. Each week, we'll share heartwarming stories and helpful tips from amazing women who have faced their own challenges, come out stronger. Tune in, get inspired, and let's start this exciting journey towards achieving your dreams together. The Women Lighthouse, your guide to a brighter tomorrow. Hello, ladies. Welcome to the Women Lighthouse podcast. It's great to have you on the show today. So we're continuing part 5 of our homeschooling series. Have you caught up on the remaining 4 parts? So basically, we've been talking homeschooling in our previous episodes. I've taken you through how I began my homeschooling journey, some common myths and facts on homeschooling, how you can begin your homeschooling journey, 10 reasons why homeschooling should be considered in Nigeria, and how to transition your kids from traditional schooling to homeschooling. And in today's episode, I'll be basically telling you certain circumstances in which homeschooling shouldn't be considered. Remember, this is just my opinion. I'm not an educationist, so this is a disclaimer. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts and my experiences with homeschooling my kids. So basically, I don't think everybody should homeschool their kids. And there are certain circumstances in which homeschooling can be quite challenging, and it would just be better you go through traditional schooling routes. And one of those scenarios is when there is a lack of support. In fact, I know that in Nigeria, where I come from, many people send their kids to school because, man, they just need a break. Like, they are dealing with a whole lot. Either they are working outside the home or running a business, they have a busy schedule, and they just need a way for their kids to be engaged while they go about earning a living. And after that, basically, the kids are back home. If they had the option of a support system that they could juggle a lot of aspects of their life and still home educate their kids, they would. And I've shared with you reasons why, when you even think of school fees, school runs, and all that. But when you do not have a solid support system, it can be tough homeschooling, especially as a mother, because we are in this era where most mothers work, and most mothers work outside the home. And when I talk about support system, I'm basically talking about either family, friends, a co-op, a house staff. There's a whole lot of support. Community also, very important. In fact, in my next episode, I'll be talking about the importance of leveraging on community for homeschooling. So imagine if you do not have that support system. So for instance, when I was in Akwa Ibom, where I was working before, homeschooling my son would have really been tough because first, my husband wasn't there. We're not in the same location. At some point, my mom wasn't around. My dad was around, but there's a limit to what a dad can do. I can't leave my child alone with a house help. I was working, and I just didn't have a lot of support. So in fact, at 11 months, I had to put my son in a school. Not because I wanted him to learn per se. I just needed him to be in a safe environment where he can be taken care of when I'm at work. And the days I didn't go to work, I didn't bother taking him because academics was not my goal. So you need a solid support system to be successfully homeschooling your child. When you do not have that support system, it can be very tough and it will not really be ideal because of the unique challenges you will face. Another scenario where homeschooling your child may not be an option is when there is an issue with socialization. And basically, what do I mean? I know one of the commonest myths with homeschooling is socialization. I know many times when my mom would say, "Oh, don't make your son not to like going to school. Don't you won't want to interact with other people," and those kind of things. But let's look at it this way. What if you are in a situation where you do not have, at that season of life, that opportunity for your child to socialize with other kids? Okay, imagine, for instance, you have only one child and you're quite busy. Maybe the environment you find yourself, maybe you're in a new environment, you're trying to familiarize yourself with that environment, and maybe you don't even go to church physically and you worship virtually. Because for me, socialization opportunities for my kids are when they go to church, when they go to co-op, when we go on play dates, all those opportunities there, both of them siblings. So imagine if you just have one child, you don't really go out, you don't have the time to take your child to meet with other kids, you don't have access to a homeschooling community, maybe where you are staying. The environment, for instance, in Abuja, there's a homeschooling community. I know in Lagos too they have. Maybe your location, there's no community. You don't even have access to a virtual community. Even if you have a virtual community and you cannot connect physically, those are unique challenges. So that opportunity to socialize is quite tough for you. Then you're now working and it's a whole lot of mix. It means your child most of the time may be within the home. What if the environment you find yourself in, there's no co-op? I remember how I had to search, and luckily on Instagram, I now found a co-op. I now found a homeschooling community. What if you don't have that at your disposal? It can be challenging. So the easiest option would be basically to enroll your child in a traditional school. And you know that homeschooling in Nigeria is just upcoming and people are actually doing it, but it's not so common. So it could be tough when it comes to socialization. Then another thing or scenario where it could be challenging to homeschool your kids is when there's a lack of parental commitment. Just imagine that you are a very busy mom, you just genuinely have a lot on your plate and there's that support is not even really there, or your availability of both you and your partner is not there. How will you do it? Because it's tough to homeschool when both partners are busy. Because even if you're getting someone to tutor your kids at home, or you're taking your child to a co-op, you need one parent that at least can fill in the gap where um, you are not available if you are the busy one, for instance. Like for me, I can homeschool my kids because to some extent, my work has some form of flexibility. And my husband's work too is even more flexible than mine is. So even when my work is hectic and busy, there is that guarantee that my husband is there and he can at least fill in the gap. So it's quite challenging when the parental commitment is not there. Homeschooling can be challenging because the truth is, one thing homeschooling does is not just about home educating, an opportunity to bond with your kids, be involved in their learning, in their growth, in their development. So if you would not have that commitment towards their education, towards their learning, towards their development, it's just better to enroll your child in a traditional school that would provide that so that your child does not lack at your own expense. So that's the value of parental commitment. Then another scenario is when there is like a challenge in your family dynamics, where you experience life events that at that moment may not permit you to homeschool. You can imagine if, for instance, there's a health challenge, maybe with you or maybe with your partner, and it will be hard for you to commit to homeschooling your kids. Or there's this scenario of divorce and you are just going through a very challenging phase, a lot of uncertainties, you trying to, maybe there's an issue with custody or there's an issue with your loss of maybe your income, or for instance, maybe the demise of your partner, those unique family challenges or life events at that season of life when you are not even in that headspace emotionally, because it takes a lot of patience, determination, grit to homeschool. Some days will be frustrating. Some days will be fun. Some days will be chaos. And you need to be stable physically, emotionally, mentally, in fact, spiritually. There are so many times I call on God and say, God, help me, give me wisdom. So, in all honesty, if you have those unique family challenges or life events, homeschooling your kids at that point may be tough and may be challenging, and in all honesty, may not be ideal. It will just be better for you to have a stable environment for your kids to grow, because children love stability, they love predictability, they want to be able to predict, and children find it hard to adjust. So if there's a lot of uncertainties and instability, it affects them. It will affect their performance. It will affect them emotionally. It will affect them psychologically. So it's safer to just enroll your child in a traditional school in that setting. And also, it's important to consider your child's preference. Imagine your child doesn't want to be homeschooled. Maybe your child grows up to become more mature. They are in their mid-primary stages or late primary or secondary stages, and you're like, you must homeschool. Or someone like me, I would love to homeschool up to the point that my kids are ready to enter the university. I would love that. But I'm taking it one step at a time, and it's flexible for me. Because if my kids, when they are grown, come and say, oh, they would love to go to traditional school and their reasons are cogent and is doable, why not? So it's important to consider your child's preference. If your child is unhappy for genuine reasons and wish not to be homeschooled, it's important to put them into consideration. So these are just a few reasons why I would say that it may not be appropriate to homeschool your kids. What are your thoughts on this topic? Are there more reasons why homeschooling shouldn't be considered? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear them. And also, in my next episode, I'll be taking you through the importance of having community when it comes to homeschooling. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Women Lighthouse podcast, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Women Lighthouse podcast. We really hope today's episode has given you some great tools, resources, and a boost of confidence to take charge of your journey. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. You can also follow us on our social media handle for even more tips and a wonderful community that's all about supporting your growth. Join us next time for more uplifting stories and encouraging insights. Until we meet again, keep shining bright, stay inspired, and embrace your unique path to a better tomorrow.